Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great one for you today. A fantastic week ahead of us as we're talking about earnings today. This is obviously, personally, my favorite week in earnings season because of all these lovely companies reporting earnings. Every week, or every really quarter when this week comes around, I'm always quite excited. There's a lot of great companies reporting earnings this week. We're going to get into them. I'll talk to you about 3 focus stocks I have for you this week. Honestly, there's so many that I could put as focus stocks, but I'd be here all day. So we'll go right into it and just get started on it and get excited. So let me know, obviously, in the comments stocks you want me to take a look at earnings on. I'll go ahead and try to make videos of them if you want me to. If not, I'll make my normal ones on the ones I'm focused on, and we'll see. So Monday before open, we have a good old Kimberly-Clark. Kimberly-Clark, not sure necessarily what to expect necessarily because I haven't quite seen a lot out of some of these pharmaceutical companies, so I don't necessarily know what to expect out of these earnings. So I don't necessarily have a 100% guess on what these earnings might look like, but it is one that's pretty interesting to see. We have FG Bank Corp, Bank of Marin, Bank of Hawaii, so we do still have some banks still reporting. Obviously, last week was the main week for financials. After them, we have Phillips, obviously consumer products, making products like washers, dryers to toothbrushes. So it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, Q4 being the biggest quarter for them. It's good to look at those earnings and see necessarily what they were able to pull off with a stimulus check benefit. You won't really see it hit this quarter for them. That is something you need to consider. That extra $600 stimulus isn't going to hit this quarter for them because it hit in January. This quarter is going to end in December, so you won't see that benefit, but maybe this next quarter you will. We've got Cadence Financial, Community Bank, and one RFRBK. That's right. After close, we have Xilinx, Steel Dynamics, AGNC, Brown & Brown Insurance, boring insurance companies, come on now. Grogu, Baby Yoda, Yamana Gold. We've got the Boot Barn, okay? The Boot Barn, I didn't realize this was a publicly traded company, but the Boot Barn's here. First Bank, Crane, and Hexcel. Now, where we get really, really exciting comes Tuesday. Tuesday gets me a little hot and heavy in here. We're going to start before open with a little GE. Not the most exciting company, but again, GE is one it's been a really interesting one to look at because the CEO, new CEO of this company has really transformed this company and is still in the process of transforming a multi-year process of really saving this company from bankruptcy, and it's pretty fun to watch. So one thing that's pretty interesting to look at. Then we have Johnson & Johnson. Should be overall a good quarter for them in terms of revenue. Obviously, a lot of consumer spending happened this quarter, and their consumer products are actually ones that perform very well from baby care products, which actually, if you think about it, probably are performing better than ever. In my opinion, I haven't looked at the statistical data on it. I feel like 2020 produced a lot more babies than typical years. And obviously Johnson & Johnson makes baby care products on top of just skincare to everything, really. So maybe there's a benefit there. It's going to be interesting to see at least. They do give a breakdown by segment, so we'll see. 3M, good just consumer products, consumer staple products there. From your notepads to your command hooks to, 3M's got it all figured out. To masks, they do it all. So interesting to see what they do this quarter. We have Lockheed Martin. From a defense standpoint, don't necessarily know what to expect. It's going to be an interesting one. Verizon's the first of the telecoms to report, so it's a really important one to look at because you'll have a better depiction of what you might see Wednesday for AT&T. One thing Verizon is they're strictly focused on their network to produce money. I mean, they're a very single solution company. They have one purpose, and that's what they do. They don't expand, unlike other companies. So one thing to look at. You've got D.R. Horton, Freeport McMoran, Copper and Gold. Yeah, baby. Big old American Express. So we still have some cards here ready to report. Some credit card companies. Raytheon Technologies. Same thing with Lockheed Martin. I don't necessarily know what you're looking at in terms of defense segment, so I don't know what to expect for Raytheon. Then we have NextEra Energy. It gets really exciting after close when we see AMD, which has been posting incredible quarters every single quarter. It's been incredible for AMD and what they've been able to do. Now, one thing that obviously their primary business is in gaming. And if you've seen from NVIDIA earnings, their gaming segment was growing at substantial rates. And just from video games as a whole, we've seen growth in substantial rates this past entire year, and especially this last quarter. December was a really good sales in terms of video games, both units, when you talk about the new PS5 and Xbox Series X. So there's a lot of good stuff going on for AMD. Really going to be an interesting earnings to look at. I do have Microsoft here as one of my focus stocks for several reasons. One, it's a holding of mine, you know what I'm saying, baby. But they're expected an EPS of $1.64 compared to $1.51 of a year ago. I do think they'll beat on that aspect. Something about me feels like it's going to be kind of a really, really good quarter. Expected a revenue of $40.18 billion, which is nearly a 9% growth. I think they'll beat on revenue by a factor of around somewhere between. I mean, it's tough to say. I personally would say they beat by around $300 million, but I could see them beating by $1 billion on this aspect. But I think you'll see a beat of around 300 to 500 million. I think this company will beat on revenue. So really an interesting one to look at, and everything they've been able to do this quarter should be a really big quarter for them. Then we have Starbucks. Again, the story on this is the recovery. So we're going to want to see continued recovery in the United States. Obviously, you've seen recovery in China. We want to see more recovery in the United States and see those transactions increase. We've seen average transaction go up, but transactions have decreased. So we want to see transactions also increase as well as average ticket price. So worth looking at. Texas Instruments, not too sure what to say about them necessarily. K12. We've got Capital One, that's right, more of the financials. F5 Networks, Navient, CNN, Martin Transport. Wednesday, really exciting stuff here as well. I'm going to be making plenty of videos this week. I'll just tell you that right now. We've got Boeing. Probably going to be a pretty horrific quarter. I can't lie. It's still going to be a horrific quarter. The company's probably going to lose a couple $1 billion this quarter, as flight prices are just horrific. And we've seen it elsewhere too. From Delta, flight prices just horrific, but they've said they're slowing their cash burn rate. So it'll be interesting to see if Boeing shares the same sentiment. One to look at. We have AT&T, huge benefactor with HBO Max releasing. They're going to be releasing data on that most likely, and I think that's pretty much the only thing that could carry this stock at where it's at right now is going to be potentially positive news on HBO Max. So I'm really interested to see what that holds for this company. It's good they're diverse in that aspect, but of course the rollout of 5G can benefit as well as people obviously upgrade their phones. Abbott, going to be good to see. Obviously, Abbott. I'll look at Kimberly-Clark and get an idea potentially what we're looking like. But again, all these have a different suite of products, so it's hard to say. Different suite of medicines. There's NASDAQ, Progressive, more insurance there. Corning, we have the Blackstone Group, Anthem, Amphenol, and ADP. Now, after close, it's when it gets the hottest of the hot. This is the hottest day, the hottest after hours of all time, okay? It's going to be incredible. I'm going to sneeze right now, or if I don't, it's going to hurt like heck. And I don't know if... Oh, it's hurting. It's not happening, but it's going to hurt. I'll just tell you that. You wish you weren't me right now. Apple. Obviously, one of my focus stocks is freaking Apple. Okay, Apple stock been on a pretty decent tear lately. Expected $1.40 EPS versus $1.25 a year ago. I think it's a beat. And an estimated earnings of $102 billion is a growth of 16%, which is quite a high growth rate. And even to that extent, I expect the number closer to $105 billion personally. I think this is going to be an out of the world quarter. iPhone 12 doing very well. I think we're going to see continued growth in the wearable segment as well as services. I think really services are going to be a big part as they really take over as the leading factor of this company, the leading segment. So, really interesting one to look at. I'll be looking at Apple pretty in depth. Tesla the same day. Really interesting stuff to look at for Tesla because you want to see continued dominance in the electric vehicle game. It'll be interesting to see how they grow year over year because that growth rate's been slowing naturally. And as more companies potentially bring out electric vehicles, it's going to be good to see what they can do to stay fresh and positive. So Tesla, always a good one to look at. I mean, it's always exciting. We have Facebook, my other focus stock. You want to know why? Because it's Facebook. Expected an EPS of $3.19 versus $2.56 of a year ago. I think that EPS estimate's pretty accurate. I wouldn't say they'll necessarily beat or miss. I think it's a pretty inline estimate, and I kind of like it. I could see a beat, but I don't necessarily see a miss on this company. I think it'll be a right around that number, actually. I think it's a good estimate. They are expected to see a $26.34 billion revenue number, which is a 25% increase. Now, that one, it's going to be tough to say. I think it'll be right around there as well. I think the highest they'll probably do, maybe $27 billion, because the recovery's been really good in the ad segments. I mean, online ad rates have been out of control lately. They've been booming. It'll be good to see what that does to this company. So pretty exciting, and I think obviously time spent on the app is going to be up there as well. So really one to look at. Then we have Lam Research, ServiceNow, Teradyne, Whirlpool, back to the, they make some washers, dryers, appliance makers, worth looking at. Levi's, Crown Castle, and Hologic. Then Thursday, we have another airline in American Airlines. Probably expect similar numbers to, a Delta, Boeing, similar numbers. We have McDonald's. We've seen some recovery in the segment as far as that's concerned, but you are seeing decrease in transactions overall for these fast food chains because less people want to go through solely the drive-thru, and a lot of these companies have made their living just off the drive-thru lately, so one to think about. We have MasterCard, more financials. McCormick in a really big baking season. You could see some good numbers out of McCormick. We'll see if it's any better than the other years, but it's worth looking at. Sherwin-Williams, painting. A lot of home improvement being done. Sherwin-Williams could be doing a decent job. Southwest Airlines, similar as American and Delta, obviously. Altria, 1-800-Flowers, a tractor supply company in Northrop Grumman. After close, we have another financial in Visa. We have Skyworks Solutions, which should be putting up some interesting numbers to look at because we're talking about the 5G rollout in Skyworks, having codecs that audio codecs that go within these parts, especially on these iPhone 12s. So it's going to be good to see how many chips they were, forced to make for this company or offered to make for a contract. It's going to be good to see depending on how much Apple sells. It really affects Skyworks, honestly. We have USS, Atlassian, Western Digital, another interesting chip company, MicroStrategy, Juniper. We have Beazer Homes, Modeles International, Olin. Then Friday, we've got Caterpillar. We have the famous Eli Lilly, Ericsson, SAP, Chevron if you're interested in gas and oil, Honeywell, makes a lot of consumer products, obviously, QP, Weyerhaeuser, and L3 Harris, as well as Charter Communications. Does anyone still use Charter? I mean, come on now. What can I say except you're welcome, okay? So, that's what I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this. You have a great one. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll take care of you.